Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Victor, and for today's video, this is something that I've been talking about in my previous chapters of this beginner's guide. Is about a tarot journal. So today we're finally going to talk more in depth about a tarot journal, what kind of things to write in it, or maybe different ways so you can keep a journal in general, and how that can benefit you as you take on your tarot journey. So let's begin. So first thing and foremost, before I get started, I'm gonna drop the spiel because I'm really trying to grow this channel, and if you're especially enjoying this kind of content of a beginner's guide or just really basic things about tarot and how to get started, please subscribe to the channel. I really do hope that you are enjoying this, especially as taking this little journey whenever you are deciding to take it, just kind of getting your feet wet into it. And I also do stream on Twitch on Sundays, so feel free to follow me there at Victor_Lancaster, where I get to do free tarot readings and other types of content. So come and check it out. So, to get things started, let's talk about tarot journals. What are they? How do we get started? What do we put in them? So, in here, I'm going to show you guys kind of what I currently do. I just keep a tarot journal. I think over the course of time, I have like 3 different books, just because I've had some time to really keep switching my mind. Sometimes I come on and off of them, but definitely when I first got started, and even now, I do like to keep a tarot journal in there to go back and check on my notes. And the purpose of this tarot journal is to really write down all your different experiences, all your different readings, so that later on down the road, you can have some validation on some of these readings that you did have. Maybe some of the things that you saw in there became true. Maybe some of the things did not turn out as accurately because of you weren't sure what some certain cards meant. And this is a good way for you to keep track historically of maybe how you were doing in these readings, maybe some of the things that you picked up, maybe some of the things that aligned at the end, and maybe some things that did not, and then maybe how it all comes down back at the end. It can help you with your process of even studying different cards as you kind of start to come into your own, maybe start to get the vibes and feels of different cards and what they start to mean to you as well. Maybe different spreads on how they're speaking to you personally. Maybe in your daily readings, you can go ahead and you can draw your single card, and then you can write down what you're expecting to go through the day, and then come back to it at the end and just look to see maybe some of the things that came true, or maybe some of the things that were missed. And all in the process of you tracking your learning process as you start to tackle this down. So first thing that I do want to cover is different ways on how you can keep track of a tarot journal. And as we are in 2022, as the recording of this video, you do not have to have a physical book. For some people, it's a lot easier for them to have a paper and pen and just write down. You don't have to make it illegible for other people to read. It just mostly has to make sense to you when you go back and read into it. And writing doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you are understanding what you're writing, and just write down things that may come to it. I know for some people it's a lot easier to kind of keep blurbs or blogs or posts either on a Word document or some sort of blog media type of form, and just write down, type them out. Some people like doing voice recordings, which I did have a voice recorder many years ago to kind of help with this, because I'm not very good at sticking with pen and paper long term. So I tried doing voice recording instead and just kind of record myself as I journal instead. These are all very good viable options for you to keep track of your journey as you keep going through, and also as a way for you to practice different cards, and for you to do almost like a study guide of yourself going through this process as well. One of the things that it is important when you go into this tarot journal is that there is no right or wrong answer in what you have to write down or speak or type into it. The most important thing is that whatever you decide to write down, that it brings value to you down the road. For example, if you are really trying to hone in your skills on how to interpret certain cards, like for example, the court cards, are not the easiest thing for people to either remember or for them to have a very significant meaning, because they all look very similar, especially with all the suits. So I know that I have taken time to write down different core cards or even different cards of the minor or major arcana, and just being able to write down some things that I've seen from books on their definitions, on the upright and reverse position. And then I'm also able to write down my own personal takes as well. And I have a large room in there as well where I can add on my own notes as I keep progressing through this journey. Maybe a certain card starts to pick up more of a meaning. For example, I know for me, the King of Swords has started to take more of a form of like a military man. That's just a personal thing that I've been able to pick up as I've done my readings. So I know for a lot of people, that might not mean that for them. That might be a different card, or that's not something that they pick up naturally. But for me, that is something that means that's something that I have to consider when I start getting that particular card, that I just write down in my journal so I can keep track of it in the future. I know from the age of social media, these cards were not intended for us to be able to track down the different styles of communication like we have in today's world. So it is maybe a particular card picks up for you, like, oh, this is the card for social media for me. A book is not going to tell you that, but that is something that you can pick up along the way. Maybe this particular card that means, hey, this is more like an electronic message. Maybe that's what this card is starting to pick up and mean to me. Maybe this card has to do with something going on currently in the world that perhaps is not something that was meant to be written on a book when you pick it up and when you first start going into it. Again, this journal, at least one aspect of it, is for you to be able to record down what some of these card meanings mean to you, like I have here for myself. Another thing that you can use this for is when we go back into one of the earlier topics about spreads, you can use this to write down maybe spreads that start to come to you naturally. Maybe this is something that you picked up in a dream. Maybe this is something that you picked up from somewhere else that you really liked. Maybe there's something about a particular spread that you want to tweak around that feels just better for you. You can write down this particular spread into your journal and start to give it meaning. Write down what each one of these cards that you're laying out mean. What does the structure of this mean to you? The cards being laid out in this particular formation, what kind of significance does it have towards you? And being able to write down and record it, because then later on with time, you can go back and remember saying, oh yeah, I used to do this spread all the time. It's been a while since I last used it. Let me recall back on it. Also, it allows you to be able to record and even grow on certain spreads that you have already picked up. Maybe the spread started as one thing and maybe it turned into something else. Think of it almost like in the Harry Potter, in the Half-Blood Prince, when they were in the potions class, and the book based on its actual text means something, and Hermione is having the hardest time getting through it. But then Harry picks up the book from the Half-Blood Prince that have things crossed out and says, no, it means do this. No, it means do that. Actually, it's this amount, not this amount. And he's able to come up with the perfect potion compared to the one that stuck to the letter of the law. This book or this journal, it is meant for you to keep a record of your growth and keep a record of things as they start to evolve into your tarot journey. Another thing that you can keep track of in this journal is readings that you do, and specifically also keeping track of cards that you use from any particular deck. Do you use an oracle deck? What kind of cards did you draw from this deck? What spread did you use? Where was the layout of each card in particular to this spread? What kind of meanings did it have to you at the time? And you can go back and recall back on those same experiences based on that particular reading. For example, if you happen to do a what's my next year going to be and you draw cards for it, imagine going into it 6 months later and going back to that same exact reading. Maybe you recorded a video of it. You can call back and be like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh no, that hasn't happened yet. Or actually maybe that was a smoke signal. It actually didn't mean a whole lot, but it came up in the reading. Things of that nature. And you can start discerning a lot of these different things, and you will be quite surprised how many things you can go back and say, wow, I did not even remember That's what I got from that reading. I didn't remember I even did that reading in the first place. It's just so fascinating to see all the different things you get to pick up along the way, just because you were keeping some sort of record of some of these very specific things that you started to pick up for yourself. And you're gonna notice also how maybe 6 months back, this is where you began, and maybe this is what this card meant to me. And then going down the road, seeing, oh wow, this card now means this to me. Wow, this card started to pick up this meaning. This card has been coming up in my readings where I talk about this instead. You know, you start to notice patterns, and you're gonna start to notice things that you did not have an eye at that moment, especially because when we revisit some of these things, we tend to have a more of an objective eye to them. Another thing you may be asking, well then how often should I do it? And that is completely up to you and what you feel comfortable doing. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to journaling, just be very mindful of what kind of things you want to journal and how important those things that you want to journal are going to be. For example, if you want to make a very specific purpose that you only want to journal your daily readings, then make sure that you do that every single day as part of your morning ritual. Maybe when your coffee's brewing, or after you get done getting ready for the day, you pick up your card and then you figure out, okay, this card came up for me. This is what I have going on in my mind. This is things that I have going on in my life. Let me see what this card is going to mean. And then maybe at the end of the day, or maybe at the end of the week, you can go back and see, okay, how did my week go? What kind of cards did I get? How did things start to resolve for themselves? And you're going to have a really good time be able to figure out maybe how attuned you are becoming to your own deck, how you are becoming to your own abilities, how you're becoming more attuned to your intuition, and maybe starting to have a better communication with your own spirit guides. Yeah, and then some last words for this tarot journal. And again, this just goes really hammering the point home. It's supposed to be meant for you to grow in your tarot journey and your tarot experience, and start to have an open mind of what some of these cards meanings are, and start writing down some of the things that you are experiencing when it comes to tarot. Maybe start recording down some of those messages that you really do not want to forget, and start to explore your creativity through this journal. Explore new spreads, explore new card meanings, go a little bit crazy and just have fun with it. I know for mine, I attach a card at the beginning just to kind of give it more of a purpose. Like, this is my tarot journal. This is what I'm going to use it for. This is what I want it to mean to me. This is how often I'm going to do it for. And I know that there are other really great websites that do offer tarot journals where it can make it a lot easier for you. It's already all self-organized, but be sure to give yourself a little treat. Go to your normal bookstore, pick up a journal, pick up the one that screams more to you, like it's your vibe, one that really speaks to you. There is no right or wrong answer. You want to have lined pages? Sure. You want to have blank pages? Sure. You want to have maybe some stickers to attach into your journal? Feel free to do all of that and go crazy. This is for you, for your personal growth, for your personal experience. And at the end of the day, look back on it every once in a while and then figure out if there's something there that sticks out to you today that perhaps it did not stick out to you then, or even vice versa. So this is all I have for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. We're kind of coming up towards the end of this beginner series. We have one more coming up, and I feel like it's just very, very important because for next week's video, I want to make sure that I cover about crystals. I know this is something that is quite popular in today's day. And I know it can serve a lot of really good purposes when you start to do tarot readings and other things, but be mindful, I'm going to stick to very basic things about crystals. So if that's something you're looking forward to, subscribe to the channel to make sure that you don't miss that video coming up next week. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And without further ado, take care. Bye.